I need another one. It's never ending this.
Sorry.
Charming.
Piggy.
Charming. Well, I'm going to start, if you don't mind, with an apology on behalf of YouTube. Now, the reason for that is the Woods, thank you very much, by the way, have commented, and I received the comment on my phone, and I clicked on reply, and nothing appeared. Nothing ever happened. So, yeah, apologies. I will put the link that they were talking about at the bottom. You can have a read of that. Effectively, what that was doing was comparing a Volvo EV versus an ICE. What are you laughing at now? Why didn't you say that at the beginning?
It's funny, Steve.
Will you behave yourself?
Stop licking your ass. Just.
Why do animals do that in public when you're on film? They never do it when you're not.
This is just crazy.
Anyway,
yes.
So let me go back to that article.
Yes.
Because this was on our first EV. So the idea is about getting one and chopping and changing every 3 years. The chopping and changing every 3 years is a very valid point.
Yeah.
A car, in fact, not just cars, anything. Are we boring you now?
No, she's just getting comfortable.
Are you sure you're happy now?
You happy, Jess?
Yes.
Yeah, good.
So when you bought a car, when you buy a car, so this article was looking at buying a Volvo XC40 versus their new electric, their CC40. So effectively it's the same car, and Volvo have done what most manufacturers do, rip out the engine and stick in an electric one instead. What? Do you want some loving? There we go. Anyway, right, you love her and I'll explain this.
Go on then.
And all that was effectively comparing the two together, because they both have CO2 values, right, which are not very good. Neither of them are, until you get to a certain break-even point. So around about the three years, if you had a green tariff and you were charging it purely on electric, then that's when the break-even point would work. So okay. I'm going to put that at the end, because that's what this is all about. Right, can you sit down now? Because I know, but you need to sit down now because you're going to be on film. Right, are you happy now? There we go. Fabulous. Anyway, right, so what have we actually done? So we've now received your electric car. It's here.
Yes.
At long last.
Yes, I've had it for about a month now.
Right.
Yep. I'm going to plug it in now. I'll try that. After we got rid of my other car, I had several weeks with no car at all.
This is the next chapter in how we intend to go greener, right? So what we did initially was we were realistic in terms of you achieving the best needs for what your driving is going to be going forward. Hence why we've got that particular car. We went around all the different manufacturers to find out what they did, and this is where the learning started for us. By the way, I got a new acronym today. It's called BEV. Ever heard of that one?
No.
Battery Electric Vehicle.
Okay.
So we looked at the potential savings involved in doing this. So we took your typical 3 fill-ups a month and just saw what 3 fill-ups on the electric car would be per month. And as you can see, the savings were quite dramatic. And so 3 lots of £35 equals £105. We'll take the battery of the car, 37.9, I'll round it up to 38. And we'll take our tariff, which is 16.8p, and I'll round that up 217p, that gives me 646. Then multiply that by 3, that gives me 1938. I then take my daily standing charge, round that up, 3 of them, it gives me 99p. Then some very simple maths, 105 less £20 gives me a saving of 84.63 per month. Well, okay, that's more than I thought then.
There's not much saving on insurance, is there?
No, insurance is fairly similar, which is...
Yeah, for any new car.
Yeah, well, I expect that is. But obviously you don't have any tax to pay.
No.
And the service plans kind of go out the window when you buy a new car as well. Right?
Oh, well. BMW offered us a service plan. It's like 500 quid for the year.
Yeah, but that's how much, that's for their normal electric car. For their
normal car. That's
normal
what we
car.
said to them.
Yeah.
They offered us a service plan, but it was at the same price as service on a normal car, so we turned it down.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll just have servicing whatever's required via the PCP. Now, the financing of a car is an issue. When you go back to that article that the Woods sent over, it was, do you chop your car in every 3 or 4 years? Now, one of the reasons why we do that, we do that anyway, is because we like trouble-free motoring, right? So we don't like anything that goes wrong at all. It does not. So we've discovered over the years that around about 3 to 4 years is about when a car starts to develop faults, right? Now, you're not going to get that in electric vehicles because there are nowhere near the complexity that there is in a normal petrol or diesel vehicle. Therefore, you can keep it longer, right? But the problem with PCP is the longest you can have is 4 years. So it's a financing issue, which is the problem now. All you need to do, as this break off says, three years at 30,000 miles with a green tariff is the break off period for that. Now that is the particular road we're going to go down. However, you'll be lucky to do 30,000 miles.
Yeah.
Even in 4 years.
Yeah, but if you take that argument that it's not green enough, you'll never do anything.
No,
And
absolutely.
the truth is, all of us have to be greener whether we like it or not. Whether it's efficient or not, we have to do things differently.
Absolutely.
So I'm afraid I just don't hold with that. It's not green enough. As we've learned from even looking at green, one small green decision will inevitably lead to another. And the more educated we are, and the smaller steps we take, the easier it will be for us to adopt living slightly differently.
But also, as well, the car they're talking about is effectively an XC40 with the engine ripped out and the electric stuff put in it. Now, your car's not like that. The inside of your dashboard and the doors are all from recycled products, and the seats are made from recycled products as well. So therefore, the CO2 emissions on your car are even less. So therefore, the break-even point's even less. But BMW haven't done the same comparison.
Don't worry about that. Don't tell that story. Don't tell that story. That's boring. Come on, let's move on.
It's not boring. It's what people want to hear. So what I found was one of the things I found when wandering around all these manufacturers. Are you bored? Is this a boring topic? It's not that boring. Oh no.
Yeah.
What? So what I found, Jess, was when I was wandering around. Is she paying attention now?
Yeah.
When I was wandering around, looking at all the cars, trying to whittle them down to the 3 so that Mum can have a look, was that these cars had just had the engine ripped out and batteries fitted and filled into the drive shaft holes and things like that. That's the big tunnel thing in the middle of the car.
I know.
Right, that you don't need, right, because the car's electric.
I know.
So therefore, we needed to find a car or cars that were built from the ground up. So we ended up with the Volkswagen and the BMW and the Mini to have a look at because they were true electric cars.
I'd finished saying what I was saying, then I burped.
So what we did was we took the top 3 of those manufacturers to you, and at that point you went around and had a look at them, and then you took the top 2 of those for test drive, and you ended up with the Mini versus this i3. Now the most interesting part of that was when we were trying to also weigh up with the pros was what sort of deals were they going to give us, as in like the Volvo. When I placed the order for that one, which I haven't got yet, by the way, that one comes with a free charger. And I thought, oh, that's quite handy. Whereas your BMW didn't. Right?
No, and you really do need a charger at home, don't you, for peace of mind? You need to build that into your costs. And the subsidies for them are due to last until March 2022
Yes.
at the moment.
Yes.
But you need a charger at home. The infrastructure out and about is loads better than it was, but it's nowhere near where it needs to be. So you need that comfort of having one at home.
We thought we had to. And so to a quick summary. Well, number one, be realistic in our needs. Well, we didn't need a car that do hundreds of miles on one tank of fuel, because we don't do that. We looked at the potential savings. Well, as you saw earlier, some of those can be rather quite large. Research the EV manufacturers. This was quite amazing. I was amazed when I went to Toyota. They don't even do one single electric car. It's all hybrid. Look at the convert to electric versus EVs from the ground up. Some manufacturers don't have all that gubbins down the middle of the cars, and you know, just wasting space. And then you have to look at the green codes, if there are any, as well. I mean, obviously the i3 does, with its doors and things all being made from green materials. Shortlist and test drives you did, and look at the offers, cheap charging, free charging points, and look at potential deals there are there. But as you'll see, there are some gotchas even when you do that.
Right, once we placed 2 orders, one for Steve's car, one for mine, we knew that Steve would get a free charger, but it would be months and months before it came. Mine didn't come with a charger, so we chose one, and we chose one which was universal and did other things, because one green decision often leads to another. So Steve will now share all the detail about the charger we did get.
Will I?
Yeah.
Okay, I will. We didn't just want a charger that was had an app that shows you just what you're charging for your car. And that's pretty much as they have to do. That's how smart they have to be. But we wanted one that did a bit more than that. Now, smart charging is a nightmare. There are loads of them. So I've just picked 3 here. And needless to say, we bought the top one. Now, I will come back to those 3 chargers in a second. They are the top 3, which most people seem to be purchasing. But I just wanted to highlight a few things for you. Now, all the units have to be smart. And I've divvied this up into Smart, Smart Plus, and Smart Plus Plus. Because I'm going to start at the basic entry level, which is the ability to just control the device remotely to be able to set your charging parameters. And what moves you into the next category, in my view, is connecting to a smart tariff, as in use the cheapest electricity overnight. And then the one that we have is the one that I'm going to call Smart Plus Plus. So in addition to all the things that we just talked about, it connects to your solar panels and your batteries, can also divert power for heating like your hot water, or powering your house, providing power for your car, and eventually diverting any free power that's left back to the grid, to which you then get paid for. So going back to this, so if you look on the very right hand side, bottom upwards, starts at £600, £700 and then £800, and then coming down all the ticks on the Zappy, for example, that has all green ticks on it. And the second one down, the Tesla one, is not approved for the grant, doesn't do solar, and doesn't do tethering, or does tethering but doesn't do untethered. And down the bottom, it doesn't do solar, doesn't have adjustable power outputs, which you need for multiple chargers on the wall, and it doesn't do software support. So if you've got issues with it, you can't get it uplifted. Now, my installation was relatively easy, so you just picked the bit of wall that had to go on, and then wandered into the garage to see the fuse box with some spare slots in it. Obviously you had to pick an EV charger and run the cable around the outside, along the top of the garage, down the wall, drill a hole through, and then plug it into the other side where the cable comes out, and he put some nice cleats in there and up to the box itself. So where does the Zappy get its information from? So you go to the electrical cupboard where your smart meter is, and in there is another My Energy product called Harvey. This is the Harvey. It collects information from the grid, needs no power, it's purely Wi-Fi, and reports its information to the Zappy. And then to make the Zappy intelligent, you connect it to the internet via something called a hub. And then after doing all your updates, you're then ready to rock and roll and produce your reports. Once Richard at EV Solutions, cracking install by the way, gets us all registered. And so it's app time. What do you get to see? Now what you're looking at here is obviously 4 icons. The top one is the house. The bottom right hand corner is the grid. How green we are is in the middle. And bottom left hand side is the car. And as you can see by the flow of the arrows, I'm drawing 3.4 kilowatts from the grid and using all that in the house. And as it's real time, if I turn that kettle off, you'll see that it dips down to 0.4. From a reporting point of view, we're at the smart stage because I don't have the rest of that big picture stuff. And as you can see on this, it's just showing that Fiona yesterday charged her car and 37 kilowatts of power in it. But this one does have lots of information on it. This is somebody with the big picture. Let's take those 3 offline products at the minute. So down the bottom there you've got the battery, then to the left of that you've got your hot water cylinder, and then above that is the car. And as you can see, looking at the middle there, the leaf is 100% green because we're generating power from our solar panels, bottom right. We are running the house, which only requires 0.7, and then we're putting the rest back to the grid. So we're making money. Somewhat different to me. If you look at my report, the green leaf in the middle is 0. I'm getting all of my energy from the grid and not doing anything green at all. So anyway, yeah, so solar panel to batteries. Batteries then have intelligence in them and decide to charge your car for free.
Yes, and it won't charge my car unless my car is plugged in.
Correct.
So we bought...
That's a bit obvious, isn't it?
Shut up! So we bought a charger, and should we at a later stage get solar panels, we can, and batteries, we can gel it all together with the tech. And we're blooming glad we've done that because there's been a development on Steve's car and his free charger.
Oh, there has, yes. Now, mine was... I'm going to say their name, even though I probably shouldn't. But yeah, but what the hell? It's Shell. It's because Volvo partnered up with Shell. And because of this rule change that's coming into the EV grant in end of March, they've decided that I can now no longer have my charger for free. And I will have to pay some money for it. But Volvo stepped in and said, no, in actual fact, you can just have a refund then. Well, not a refund. A refund of what it would have been. So they're going to give me £500 back, to which I can then put to the Zappy, make that even cheaper.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah.
That's what we're going to do.
Okay. I'm not going to go into technical stuff. That doesn't interest me. I'm going to talk to you about what it's really like to drive an EV. Right, my little BMW is lovely to drive. It's smooth. It's responsive. There are things about it that really hack me off. Things like... when you get in it, you have to put the seatbelt on every single time immediately, or else it does this bing, 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 endlessly. Also, when it's frosty, you'll get used with a normal car to putting on the engine, it warms it up, and then you might go and scrape the ice off. You can't do that with this car, because as soon as you step outside and close the door, it turns itself off.
So you have to leave
So you
the door
have
open.
to. Well, you can't even leave the door open. And the other thing I would say to you, because it's kind of a semi-two-door and a bit car, so it's got doors where you open that way and then you open that way to get in the back. As I'm a slightly larger woman, what happens if you're close to another car is you end up stuck between the 2 doors going, ooh,
Okay.
like this. So there's some practical things about it, but it's incredibly spacious, a lot more spacious than my Mini. The light and the driving position is really good. You can see all around. Interesting things are at my place of work. They said that I had an electrical charging point, which actually meant there's a plug on the wall.
3-pin plug, yeah.
Yeah,
I saw
3-pin plug,
Yeah.
which I have used and use a couple of times a week. I did ask for a proper charger to be put in, but there was no interest in that until week 1 when I turned up with my car, plugged it in all day. Day 2, plugged it in again, and I got a visit to ask how many times I was going to plug it in.
There we go then.
Yeah. So I got a distinct feeling that someone had suddenly woken up to the fact that
But you've actually had some scaffolding in the parking bay, so you can't actually
Yeah,
get your
I
car.
have had that
And a
as well.
car, non-electric car, is also parked in there.
there is only one space. Although there are 2 plugs, there's only one space because of fire exits and things to park. So I guess it's made them think about actually having a proper electric charger. And I was thinking to myself, how long will it be in that space where there are several businesses based before someone else comes there with an electric car? And it was actually less than a month before there was another car like mine there.
It's going to get worse and worse.
Yeah.
It's going to get more and more electric cars. I had to actually put 6 months extra road tax on my car, even though I'm selling it. It drives me nuts. But anyway, I had to do it. And right at the very end said, make your next car electric on the government website. So they're telling everybody.
So there was that. Driving around has been fine. What I do find though, that the car displays how many miles are left on the battery. I've learned that is a guide only. It is not accurate. It says, even on my BMW app, it'll say fully charged 155 miles. I've never seen 155 miles on the battery. 143 I think is the most I've seen. But the reality is, because you're driving, not on the motorway, but if you're driving normally, because of the recharge and your foot's going up and down on the accelerator, occasionally on the brake, not often, you don't really need to use the brake that much. The mileage goes down really slowly. So
I just find that as exciting, that actually.
Well, I think you've got to trust if it's getting low, it's getting low, but it's not accurate by any manner of means. So an example, this week I went out very early in the morning. I had to leave at like 6:15. It was freezing cold and frosty. And the night before I'd taken the car out, I had about 85 miles left on it. And I was going 34 miles away from home, 68 miles there and back. When I got in the car, turned it on, frosty morning, got it going, got it defrosted, it said 69 miles. And I was thinking...
Oh, so it lost nearly 20 overnight
yeah,
then.
I thought, bugger. I mean, it going 68 miles, will it do it, won't it? I looked up the venue quickly on my phone, which was a golf club, to see if they had any charging points. No evidence of any charging points. But I thought, well, I've got to go for it. So I thought, I'll go the back way so I keep the recharge going. Which I did, and I went, and I thought, I've got to deal with this range anxiety at some time. And I got there 34 miles away, and it was 55 miles. So I'd gone from 69 to 55 miles. So I know I'd done 34 miles.
But
it was only gone down a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. And there were no charging points at this golf club that I was visiting. So a couple of hours later, I come back out. I know it's about 34 miles back. 55 miles, so I go down the motorway, because on the motorway where your foot's steady,
there's no recharge.
Yeah, there's no recharge, so you get through the miles straight back. When I got off at Swindon, off the motorway, I had to go to one other place a few miles away. Yeah, I got off, it said 21 miles. Went the back way to my client's place, which was about 4 or 5 miles, and it said 15 miles. Yeah, she's got a hybrid, so I knew she'd let me plug in, but I thought, no, 15's fine. I'm only like 4 or 5 miles away from home.
Yeah.
So I stayed there for the rest of the day, came back out, drove home. And when I came out, it said 15 miles still. Drove home. When I got home, it said 13 miles, charge on the drive. So honestly, what the reading it gives you does not relate to reality. And I think you have to learn how the car is going to behave.
But when it gets down and down and down, that's when you begin to take notice then, obviously.
Yeah, and it doesn't send you a warning. The first warning was, you've got 15 miles left.
Right.
That was it.
I expect there's more if you went further down.
Yeah, I expect so. But it was fine. And we charged it up. And it charged up in about 5 or 6 hours.
So what you've learned is not to use motorways or dual carriageways and things like that. Use places where you are going to go round roundabouts and recharge all the time and keep your mileage back up.
Yeah, I mean, the car moves fast. There's no problem with that. It moves like any other car. It's quiet as well. That's the other thing to notice. It is quiet. And people, if you're in a car park or in a slow situation, people often don't hear it. A friend of mine who actually has a Tesla was stood in the car park chatting to someone. I came up in my car. He was stood in the road, not on the pavement. I came up in my car and stood there for at least 30 seconds before he realised I was there.
Behind him.
Yeah. So
No electric car
you do
driver.
have to have an awareness that the car is quiet. So if you're in a car park or moving around a car park or where there might be people walking, you need to be responsible about that.
Is that enough EV chat for today?
Yeah, I think
I
that's
think it
enough.
is, because it's kind of festive. And we've got a snowman on the roof, and I keep seeing it out of the corner of my eye.
And me.
We're in the caravan, and because it's at home, you want to see what we've done to it. Fabulous. I've got lights all over the place. Anyway,
That's it.
right.
That's enough. That's enough EV for today. And before we go, don't forget, like, subscribe, hit the little bell. See you soon.